Alright guys, on today's video we're going to be discussing The Last Outpost. Now, this episode was the first introduction of the race known as the Ferengi. Now, I'm going to backtrack with you guys a little bit. The Ferengi were first mentioned in Encounter at Farpoint, and in fact, if you go and read the Star Trek The Next Generation Bible, they are meant to be the Next Generation's version of a main bad guy, kind of like the Klingons were for the original series. Now, this species as a whole were, they have the whips, which weren't really brought back again. I don't think. Maybe there's a reference to it somewhere. It may have been seen one more time, but for the most part, after this episode, it was pretty much dropped. The Ferengi being a serious threat was kind of being shuffled after this episode once criticism for this episode came through. The way the episode goes is the Ferengi steal some of our shit. We go after them. They pass by this planet, which stops them. We come to the planet. It stops us. Now, of course, we think the Ferengi are messing with us. The Ferengi think we're messing with us. So we both agree, beam down to the planet. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Well, they do that, and person from the Takan Empire comes out, says, "Hey guys, I'm stopping you guys from being douchebags to each other, and we're gonna go ahead and to Riker," which Riker doesn't move, and proves himself, to be better than the Ferengi and whatnot, and more enlightened. And it's kind of a clunky episode. It works in some areas it doesn't. It has a really cool idea of a past civilization that doesn't realize that the Empire is gone. That he still thinks that it's several ages ago when it's not. It has a little bit for everybody to do, even if it's not, episode altering. But you see a little bit of everybody in that. You see Worf, you see Geordi, Data, Yar, and Riker down to the planet. There's some pretty cool action, and I say pretty cool from a 1987 budget, and the time constraint for that. It's not going to be like Die Hard or something, where it's like, oh wow, it's really cool, or Predator, where oh my god, the special effects. But for what they did at the time, the planet was really awesome. Had a lot of great visuals. Those crystals in fact, the crystals that are on the planet, if you look at those crystals, and if you ever had one of the Playmates Star Trek The Next Generation figure, like Geordi LaForge, well, in the package, he has a little crystal about that big, and it's dilithium crystals. Well, if you look at that, it's the same thing as what's on this planet, which I always thought was kind of cool. I thought, I don't know why they look like that and whatnot, but I just visually, it's the same thing. And you find that a lot in Star Trek, that they reuse a lot of the same props, they reuse a lot of the same backgrounds and whatnot, special effects. But that's part of how you do a budgeted TV show, is you have to reuse a lot, and you have to think outside the box on what you can do to make it look good. For this episode, as a little kid, I really enjoyed it because I thought, oh man, this is just action-packed, seeing the Ferengi hop on Worf and hop on Riker, and, just kind of... that is... probably as a little kid, something where you're like, oh, that's really awesome. Does it hold up today? No, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's trial and error. You don't know unless you go through it. It's kind of like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. This certainly didn't stick. Now, there is a reason why the Ferengi act like they do in this episode, and why they act like normal Ferengi the further you go along the line. And I found this, I don't remember where I heard it from, or where I read it, but I love the idea. The reason why the Ferengi act so barbaristic and aggressive is because they're under the impression that the Federation are people of that are going to hostile take over the place, just real jerks, and they want to present a side of themselves that look like they could be a formidable enemy. So that's why they act this way. Now, once this encounter with the Federation, with the Enterprise happens, the Ferengi realize, okay, the humans aren't like that. They're not mean barber people, barber people. They're not, animalistic people. They're not hostile people. They're just, they're more enlightened or whatnot, so we can be who we are. We don't have to put on this facade. And so then they just act like normal Ferengi after that. I find that really interesting, and I wish they would have really developed that somewhere along the way, or at least maybe brought that up in Deep Space Nine, especially the fact that we had so much development of the Ferengi and so much exploration of that race. I really felt like this was kind of a missed opportunity. The fact that we never brought up, hey, why did the Ferengi not act like Ferengi in that first episode? But I think, like I said, for the time, I thought the episode was really good. I think it holds up. It's one of the story's kind of weak, but at the same point, it was kind of risky. Like it's got a really great budget for television, especially for television, 1987. Like I said, looking at Riker, kind of look out over the precipice there. It's just really good visuals. Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. The storyline where the power is draining on the ship and Picard tells everyone to kind of evacuate the different areas of the ship and kind of prepare for prepare to meet your death because we're running out of power. There's nothing we can do. I really felt the desperation of everybody there. um, it's just it was really I felt it brought the right things to the show that it needed. With the first episode setting up all these characters, it did a really good job. With the second episode, it was kind of a funny, romp, a romp fest. Just not taking itself too seriously. Third episode, don't get me started on that one. But this episode, it was the first time where you really felt like the crew was in danger, and you felt like, okay, this is why we're out here, because this is truly the unknown. I felt like this was the very first episode where it found its footing. And I find it's kind of ironic that it did that in an episode that failed with the Ferengi. Um, so I have to overlook all the negative aspects of the Ferengi or whatnot. It really set up these characters to work together in a way that hadn't been shown, and in a way that will continue to be seen and improved upon. So I think this episode overall was pretty good, and the fact that we did get finally a look at the Ferengi, and I enjoyed the species. Um, as a younger kid, I didn't really enjoy the species. Deep Space Nine really helped me appreciate that species more. So I can look back at this episode and appreciate it for what it was and enjoy it. um, I think this was a very strong Riker episode, and I think that's so far in the series he's just been really impressive. Taking charge, doing what's needed, and like I said with Picard, kind of making the hard decisions. I felt this was the very first episode where I thoroughly enjoyed Picard, just because he's sitting there trying to communicate with the Ferengi. It's a frustrating situation to lose command of your ship, and I felt like this was kind of the first time where I took him as a commander seriously. So awesome portrayal of all these characters, all these um, just really good episode. I feel the episode's probably, I'd say probably a 7.5 out of 10. Um, it's worth a watch. It's probably a highlight for the season. Um, Story's good, effects were great. I would recommend it to anybody. Star Trek, like I said, 7.5 out of 10. I think is pretty good for this episode. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys agree, cool. If not, that's fine too. Let me know what you think, and keep on geeking on, guys.